Let's talk about the war in Yemen and where it's at right now. Civilians are being killed in record numbers. More people than ever are going hungry.
7 years of this conflict have pushed millions of people to the edge.
80% of the population is in need of some sort of humanitarian assistance.
There's been intense fighting over a strategic oil-rich region. And now, attacks on the UAE.
We begin with breaking news out of Yemen, where Houthi rebels have claimed responsibility for an attack on the United Arab Emirates.
So what's going on? Who are the Houthis and the other big players? And what are they fighting for? Okay, so what we're talking about in Yemen is a fight over who gets to run the country. You've got the Houthis. They control areas where most people live, including the capital, Sana'a, which they took in 2014. They're a political and military movement that originated in northern Yemen, and most of them practice a form of Shia Islam. They've been fighting the government on and off since the early 2000s, but really gained strength in the last 10 years or so. The Houthis also have links to Iran, but we'll get into that a bit later. Then you've got the areas controlled by forces aligned with an internationally recognized government. That's the government the Houthis pushed out when they took over Sana'a. It's led by this man, President Abdurrahman Mansur Hadi, but he's been forced into exile and is based in Saudi Arabia. And it's Saudi Arabia that's leading the fight to put him back in power, along with the UAE. When you hear about the Saudi-led coalition, that's what people are talking about. Several other Arab countries were involved, but in recent years, they've taken more of a back seat. That Saudi-led coalition also has the backing of some Western countries.
You have Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates supported and backed by states like the US, UK, and being supplied with arms from states like France, Canada, Germany, and many other places.
Now, for the last 7 years, the main fight has been between the Houthis and the Saudi-led coalition. But in 2017, a third big player emerged, the Southern Transitional Council, the STC. They're separatists. They want independence for South Yemen, which was once its own country, and their forces get support from the UAE. Right now, they control parts of the south, including the port city of Aden. In 2020, they got some seats in President Hadi's cabinet as part of a power-sharing deal. So that kind of put the STC and the internationally recognized government on the same side against the Houthis. But it's still a pretty tense relationship.
Those are the three main players that are basically fighting over certain goals, different goals. Sometimes they share these goals and sometimes they're against each other. So it gets very complicated.
Okay, let's go back to the Houthis for a moment and deal with Iran, because there are questions over exactly what their relationship is. In the last few years, some of the weapons and tactics used by the Houthis have become more sophisticated, including regularly launching drone and missile attacks over the border into Saudi Arabia. And many analysts think this growing strength points to support from Iran. Now, Saudi Arabia outright accuses the Houthis of being Iranian proxies, as in controlled by Iran. On the other hand, Iran officially denies any kind of interference in the Yemen conflict. The reality is probably somewhere in the middle.
Even if the Houthis are acting independently, well, they need their weapons replenished from somewhere. Someone's supplying them, someone has trained them, and it's very likely that that is Iran.
I don't think Iran can tell the Houthis what to do. The Houthis will do what Iran wants only if it's convenient for them.
Now, this dimension of Saudi Arabia versus Iran also means that the war in Yemen often gets painted as a sectarian conflict, Sunni versus Shia. But it's actually way more complicated than that. It really didn't start out that way, but that sectarian dynamic has become stronger over time.
The Yemenis never had a Sunni-Shia divide as harsh as we've seen in Syria, or for Iraq for that matter, or Lebanon. They've always coexisted, but because of these issues that are really regional and global, they've managed to make their way into Yemen. And I think and so now there is a Shia identity now in Yemen, which never existed, merely because of the conflict.
So let's recap. You've got 7 years of war in Yemen. It's a civil war for sure. but with this big international aspect. And now let's talk about the recent fighting, because things have escalated. For the last year or so, the Houthis have been focused on taking a region called Marib. It's Yemen's main oil-producing region, and the city of Marib is the last stronghold in northern Yemen for the internationally recognized government.
The largest portion of fuel and oil that is going to all the country comes from Marib. For Houthis, capturing Marib will be a very strategic step.
But fighters backed by the UAE have been making things hard for the Houthis in and around Marib, pushing them back. And it seems that prompted the Houthis to strike the UAE directly. They claimed responsibility for a drone attack that hit a fuel storage facility in the capital, Abu Dhabi. It killed 3 workers. Later in January, the UAE said it had intercepted even more missiles fired from Yemen.
What the Houthis have recently done is making the war reach a little further and striking in the heart of the United Arab Emirates in Abu Dhabi. Essentially, it is a signal from the Houthis that they're not afraid to escalate the war to greater lengths.
And the Saudi-led coalition has responded with more attacks in Yemen.
Airstrikes have been carried out on Houthi-held territory in Yemen all week, but this one was by far the most deadly.
One strike hit a detention center in the city of Sada, killing more than 60 people. More than 100 were injured. The Saudi-led coalition later denied it was behind that strike, but said it was investigating. There was also a strike on a telecoms facility, which was blamed for knocking out the country's internet for 4 days. 3 children playing nearby were reportedly killed. With these airstrikes, January has been a particularly deadly month for civilians in Yemen, probably the worst month in 7 years of war, according to the UN. But attacks on civilians are nothing new.
It seems that the parties have a deliberate strategy in just harming civilians, civilian infrastructure, houses, hospitals, farms, weddings, funerals, schools, you name it. These civilians' places have been systematically targeted.
It is really necessary to talk about accountability. This is the only thing that will make warring parties think about the suffer of the civilians. Impunity has been given to warring parties again and again.
And then there's the wider impact of the war. It's been devastating. Hunger, poverty, and disease are all killing Yemenis in bigger numbers than the actual fighting. Many aid agencies say it's the world's worst humanitarian crisis right now. Half the country doesn't have enough to eat.
When they wake up in the morning, they do not know where their next meal is coming from. It means that their children will be sent to work if they find work, or to beg in the streets. Access to water, which is like a basic right and something that we all take for granted, is not there. It means that even if you have the food, you don't have the fuel to cook the food with. Clean water to be able to cook this food. I don't know how to paint a picture of how difficult the daily life of Yemenis are. Even the lucky ones are facing things that we can't even imagine.
So where does it go from here? Well, right now, aid agencies say their immediate concern is money. They badly need millions of dollars to help people survive. But that's far from a solution. Thing is, there are no real solutions on the table, not from the groups fighting inside Yemen and not from the international community. If anything, it looks like it's all getting even worse. If you want to know more about why the war in Yemen began in the first place, check out our previous episode on Yemen, our very first Start Here explainer. The link is right here. See you next week.